All right. So we're about to start our health literacy workshop on creating a balanced plate and common dietary misconceptions. And we'd like to thank the East Alabama Diet and Nutrition Center for agreeing to help us out today. And Lauren, I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Yes. Thank y'all so much for having us. My name is Lauren Thigpen, and I'm one of the dietitians here at the Diabetes and Nutrition Center. And then I've got Noelle, let you.
My name is Noelle Stewart, and I'm a dietitian at the Diabetes and Nutrition Center as well.
So we're going to be kind of tag teaming today. And I'm going to start off talking a little bit about just general healthy eating types of things and how to build a healthy plate. And then I'm going to hand it over to Noelle, who's going to be talking about different diet myths and some misconceptions that you may be curious about. So happy National Nutrition Month. March is National Nutrition Month, and so we're excited to be talking about nutrition for the very last couple of days of this month. So what is nutrition and why is it important? We can just start there. So nutrition, by definition, is the process of providing or obtaining the food necessary for health and growth. So I just Googled that really quick the other day, and I thought it was interesting how it's both obtaining the food necessary and also providing it too. So it's kind of these two different types of things and necessary for health and growth. So we don't want to just be healthy. We also want to grow and become more healthy as we are growing. So I want you guys to think about if I said food is, what would come to mind?
Yummy.
Yummy. Yes, love that answer.
I say it's life. I say it's
Life.
life.
Yes, absolutely.
She
So
stole my
yummy.
answer. That's what I had. Food is life.
Food is life. I love it. Live to eat or eat to live, right? So those are great answers. So the ones that I thought of were food is nourishment, food is medicine sometimes, food is culture, right? So a lot of our culture is going to be centered around food and preparing food and doing it in certain ways and sharing it with each other. And food is energy. So that's essentially what nutrition is giving us energy. And then I also had food as life. And I also thought about how food is love. So a lot of people, we hear this term of love language. And so a lot of people will cook for people to show their love. And so some of you may have that as a gift of just being able to whip something up and just make someone's day with that. So I'm glad that you guys had some positive thoughts whenever I said food is. I was thinking about food is not. So what food is not, the enemy, right? So sometimes we think about food being the enemy. We think about maybe we have a certain disease state like diabetes or something like that, and we just think, well, food is my problem. But it's not the enemy, and I want us to kind of shift our focus away from thinking that. Also, food is not just weight gain. Sometimes we're tempted to think of, well, we look at a food and I can look at a food and I'll, gain weight. Or we just start thinking about, negatively about food. And so I want us to just kind of think for a little bit about our personal attitude toward food. Because our attitude toward food really has a powerful effect on our health. Even if we know how to eat, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be able to put that knowledge into practice, right? So if we view food negatively, we're actually more likely to feel controlled by the food we eat instead of us having the freedom to make healthy choices. And so if you've ever been on a diet before, maybe a specific kind of restrictive diet, you may have experienced a lot of frustration, and you may have experienced some disappointment with food and just feeling very specifically negative about food. And you may have also felt a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of information out there on the internet or in books or on social media about these different diets and what foods are going to do what for you. And you may have felt like the world was just telling you there's nothing good to eat, there's nothing safe to eat, there's nothing out there, right? And so these nutrition can feel really overwhelming. And I say that I went to school for nutrition so I could figure everything out. And I honestly got a little bit more confused as I was going through school because the science is ever changing, and everybody's body is very different. But my goal for today and my hope for today is to simplify nutrition and simplify healthy eating for you guys. And unless you have, a specific disease state and you've been told by a medical provider, or you've been, told by a dietitian otherwise to eat a specific way, what I'm going to share with you guys today is just a very general healthy diet that can keep you healthy and hopefully happy. Okay, so I don't want any of this to replace any medical advice that you get for you specifically, but we hope that this is a helpful tool in just kind of creating a really healthful way of eating. And so why should you even trust us? Okay, so we are registered dietitians. We mentioned that in the beginning, but we went through 4 years of school. I've personally got a master's in nutrition science, and then we go through several hours of practice in the field, and we take a big test to become registered dietitians. And so we're also referred to as registered dietitian nutritionists. And so registered dietitians, we are food experts, we like to call ourselves, and we work with people to develop and maintain a healthy diet. A lot of times we are helping people with conditions where specifically eating certain foods can influence how they react to those foods and how their health looks. Okay, so things like people with diabetes, with kidney disease, with heart disease, with maybe liver disease. We help people with all of these specific things kind of look at what they're eating and figure out how their food can make them heal and help them manage what's going on for them. So we also can help people, just generally educate the public about healthy eating or losing weight or gaining weight if people are struggling with struggling to know how to cook and eat enough, if they have cerebral palsy or COPD or something like that. So we can help a lot of different types of people. So if you guys have a specific, you've been told you need to be on a specific diet or something like that, and you just feel a little bit lost and feel like you want to talk to someone personally, you are welcome to ask your physician for a referral to a dietitian. A lot of people don't realize that is a service that you can receive, and that's covered by a lot of insurances. So please, reach out to your physician about that if you're interested in learning more about you specifically. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you guys just a general healthy plate, and I'm going to kind of go over this. And the USDA, the Department of Agriculture, they have a food and nutrition service, and they put out dietary guidelines every few years. And I'm going to show my screen now. Here we go. Okay. I believe it's working. Is it working for everyone? Can someone give me a thumbs up? Okay,
It says that you're
perfect.
sharing screen, but it's still black for me. Okay, there we go.
Oh, okay, and it's good now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is, and excuse me for 1 second. This is the My Plate. Okay. If anyone remembers the food pyramid back in the day, the plate has kind of replaced that food pyramid. And it is the government's way of kind of sharing very general healthy information. And they've got all kinds of resources on their website. And so that's going to be myplate.gov. You can see that at the bottom of this plate, myplate.gov. And they've got just different recipes, how to make berries 5 ways. They've just got all kinds of things. And so we like to use their resources for education purposes. But they've got a lot of people working for them who are kind of figuring out what exactly is the best way to eat for general optimal health. So, and we like to keep it simple, right? And so if we're imagining our plate, we're sitting down to our lunch or dinner, and we're imagining our plate. We want to kind of think about breaking it into different categories. And that's because different foods have all different nutrients in them. So each food is kind of made up of these 3 big nutrients, okay? And you've probably heard of these before, but they're going to be carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So all of the food groups that you see on here are kind of going to be a compilation of different forms of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And so this is kind of the best way to eat to get a balanced plate. Then we've kind of got all of our vitamins and minerals, right? And I want you guys to imagine that your body is a nice, really nice, unique car, okay? And we want to give our car fuel that is best for its size, for its speed, and for its ability, right? And it's very unique to us. The nutrients that I've talked about are our fuel. These carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, they're going to be our fuel. And each nutrient kind of does something completely different for the body. Our carbs, or carbohydrate, carbs for short, they're going to be giving us energy. So if anyone has ever felt like, you've skipped a meal, you start feeling really tired, that's because you are not having that fuel, right? So it's kind of like we're running out of gas a little bit. And then proteins are going to make up our muscles and our organs. So they're going to be more of kind of like a building block. And then fat is going to do a lot of different things. But one of the main things it does is it's going to kind of be building our hormones, and then it's going to be building our cells as well. And then vitamins and minerals, they're kind of like the nuts and the bolts of our car. They make everything run smoothly. So if we get deficient in a certain vitamin or mineral, something's going to go wrong along the line. So we want to make sure that we're getting plenty of vitamins and minerals too. And so the key here is going to be to eat a balanced amount of all of them. That's going to give us the best chance at just optimal health. So how do we do that? What would the plate look like? So here's our plate. Let's see. Okay, so we've got on the left-hand side, if we're splitting it down the middle, we want half of our plate to be made up of fruits and vegetables, and we want the majority of that half to be vegetables. Okay, so we want to vary our vegetables. Super interesting thing is the color in fruits and vegetables specifically can help us in specific ways. So if you've ever heard of, eat the rainbow, there's a lot of truth to that. And they're finding out a lot of things about how different colors can help fight off cancers and things like that. So we want to vary our vegetables, get different colors of vegetables. And with our fruit, we want to focus on whole fruits. So they can be fresh or frozen, but a little bit less. We don't want to necessarily get the fruit that's just sitting in a lot of syrup. We want to kind of get that fruit that's over on the outskirts of the grocery store, right? We want to get it whole and not necessarily just from juice, because if things are coming from juice, you can imagine, we're not getting the all of the benefits of the fruit. We're kind of just getting that sugary part of it, and it's a little too much sugar for our bodies. So we want to focus on whole fruits. And so fruits are also going to be considered a carbohydrate because they're made of sugar. And then some of the vegetables are also going to be a carbohydrate. So we're getting energy from this half of our plate. Then we go on to grains, all right? And grains are going to be also a carbohydrate. And we want to make sure that half of our grains that we get in the day are going to be whole grains, okay? Whole grains are going to be, you can kind of look at the label and make sure that it says whole grain. That's how you can know, but they're going to have the most vitamins and minerals in them. And then we want a quarter of our plate to be protein. And we will also want to vary the types of protein that we get. We typically want to go for lean protein, which is going to be things like fish, chicken, turkey, lean cuts of red meat, but that's really going to be the best sources of our protein. And then we've got dairy, okay? And dairy is going to hold lots of vitamins and minerals. It's also going to have protein and fat and carbohydrates. So it's kind of got a little bit of everything. And so it's really important, especially while we're younger, if y'all have kids, to make sure we're getting enough dairy in through the day, because that's going to be helping support our bone strength for when we get older. And then over here we see this limit. So we want to kind of choose foods and beverages that have less added sugars. We want to be balanced about everything, but really the only thing that I typically tell people to try to really have rarely is going to be things like sodas and sweet tea, juices, things like that. Just because they're going to have lots of sugar kind of packed into one little bottle, and it's kind of going to go straight to our bloodstream, and we just really don't need all of that sugar. So we want that to be more of an every now and then type of thing. And then also activity is going to be really important. Being active can help prevent disease. It can help you manage your weight. It can help you de-stress and just feel generally better. So that's also something that dietitians try to always kind of hit on when we're counseling people. And then up here, it gives a little bit more extra information about these different food groups. And it has at the bottom how many like cups or ounces of things are recommended each day. So this can be a little bit overwhelming to think about, but I still wanted to leave it up here to show you guys how we really do need a good bit of food, right? We just want to make sure that our food is going to be dense with these nutrients. So back to fruits. Focusing on the whole fruits like fresh, frozen, dried fruits. We want to buy fruits to kind of just have them available to add to your meal or eating as a snack, because they can be a great option for a snack. They're very, accessible through certain seasons. Different things are going to be going in and out of season, and that can be really helpful for us to kind of just always have those on the counter in eyesight, so we can just go grab for them. And then vegetables. So adding vegetables, we don't have to just sit there and eat raw carrots or raw broccoli. We can, but there's all kinds of ways that we can mix vegetables into casseroles. We can make our sandwiches just really hearty with vegetables. We can chop it up and put it in pasta. We can put it in wraps. There's all kinds of ways to get creative about our vegetables. And then fresh, frozen and canned are all good. With the canned, we just want to be looking out for not having a lot of sodium in there because that's common. But they've got reduced sodium or no salt added on the labels. So that can be a good go-to if that's easier to prepare for you and easier to buy. And then with our grains, we want to choose those whole grains. Like I said, if you see the word whole or whole grain, then we're good to go. But that's going to mainly be like brown rice or wheat bread or brown pasta. Things like that are going to be our whole grains. And those just have really good amounts of vitamins and minerals in them. And then our protein. I didn't talk about this earlier, but the recommendation is to have seafood twice a week. Okay. And that's because seafood, specifically our fatty fish like salmon and tuna, have very healthy fats in them that are really important for managing our cholesterol. And then we want to get those lean cuts of meat and ground beef. That's about 93% lean. We want to get those lean cuts because if we're just always getting those really fatty cuts of meat, that can eventually cause us to maybe have some heart problems or some heart disease down the road. And then dairy, we want to choose low fat or fat-free dairy. And same thing, kind of going back to that saturated fat. And so we want to make sure that almond milk and soy milk, things like that, you're really not getting the amounts of calcium and vitamin D that you get from regular milk. So if we are choosing those, then we need to make sure that we're kind of getting some calcium and vitamin D other places. Okay. And all of these down here, just kind of so you guys could look over them. But one that surprises people a lot of times is 3 cups of dairy a day is the recommendation. And then kind of 4.5 cups of fruits and vegetables altogether, 6 ounces of our protein, 6 ounces of our grains, and then 5.5 ounces of our protein. But like I said, if we're kind of going back to this picture, then we're going to be hitting that. And so I want us to be kind of focusing on how do we add things to our plate? Because if we're focused on getting enough of these food groups, then we're not going to have much room for other things that aren't going to have as much nutrients. And then this is an example. Ignore where it says diabetes plate method. This is the same thing that I just showed you, but just kind of shows you for real life food. So we've got, half of the plate is her salad and that fruit. And then they've got potatoes as their starch or their, carbohydrate, or you can have grain there. And then they've got their protein, and then they've also are drinking milk. So they've got a very well-rounded meal right there. So that's kind of our healthy meal. And so you may be wondering, how many meals a day should I get and all of that. So we recommend that you get 3 meals a day. Our body really wants and appreciates consistency. And it wants to kind of get the same amount of stuff kind of throughout the day and to kind of know where its nutrients are coming from. And sometimes it's good for people to have a snack in between their longer meals. And so it's perfectly fine to have 2 or 3 snacks a day as well. We also want to kind of balance out our snacks and be getting different diverse things through there. And one of the best things that you can do to eat healthy is cooking at home. So when we're going out to restaurants, a lot of times they're not going to be having all the options of diversity that we see here. And so just kind of, even if a goal is to just cook at home a little bit more, that's going to be a fantastic thing to do. And there's some really good websites out there that I want to kind of tell you guys about. One is diabetesfoodhub.org. And that is going to be a recipe website. And it is going to have everything you can imagine. It's not just for people with diabetes. It's just run by the American Diabetes Association. But you can check that out. And it's really helpful in kind of choosing maybe specific ingredients you want, or choosing types of meals that you want. It's just really nice. And then the other one is Produce Made Simple .ca. And they've got, if you struggle to kind of know how to cook your veggies or cook your fruits, they've got just great resources on there with videos and recipe cards and things like that. So those are two that I wanted to share with you guys. So overall, if we're focusing on what you can add to your meal, you know, how do I get my 2 servings of fruits in a day? You know, how do I get my dairy in? If we're focused on adding all of these really healthy things, then we're not going to be, you know, thinking about, oh, we can't have this and can't have that, right? And that's where a lot of diets kind of come in, and Noelle's going to be talking about that too. But we hope that, you know, by seeing this today, you guys are feeling motivated, inspired to make some healthy choices and to work on building your plate. When making your goals, don't be afraid to start small. Start with just one thing that you know you can accomplish, and then move on to the next. We counsel people on goal making all the time, because again, I've given you guys knowledge today. That's one thing, and that's an important thing, but then being able to put it into practice is a whole different type of thing. And so always keep those goals realistic and very specific. And then always remember that food is fuel. And so with that, I'm gonna let Noelle take on our next part, talking about different diet myths and things like that. So I'm just gonna stop share so we can just see faces.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Lauren. Good job. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to start out talking about what we call fad diets. Have any of you ever been on a diet out there? Yeah. Which one did you get on? Can you tell me?
I don't remember the name of it, but when I was stationed in Puerto Rico, we went on this diet where we only ate watermelon.
Oh.
Yeah, we did. We ate watermelon. I'm talking about all day, every day. I don't even know how we got started on that.
That
Well,
is
we
a
did
big
it.
one on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happened? How long did you just eat watermelon?
Well, because it kept you full, because you know it's nothing really. It's like drinking water all day. I think we did it about 6 weeks.
Oh my God. Wow. I'm
Yeah, we
impressed.
did it. Yeah, we did it 6 weeks.
So why did you stop?
Probably because like anything else, we probably lost interest, because that was the goal, that was the thing at the time.
Yeah.
And then it faded out like everything does. Not
Yeah.
everything, but it faded out. You know, it was no longer fashionable. And
Right.
so the one that started it, when she stopped, then we were like, well, if she's not doing it, there's no reason for us to do it either.
Okay.
So
Right.
just
Yeah.
a bunch of friends, and we just supported each other, and whatever came up, we would do it.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. And just, think about it. Do you want to eat watermelon for the rest of your life and that's it? Probably not, right? And so this is kind of the problem with these fad diets, and new ones are coming out all the time. And you guys may have some questions about some you've heard about that I have not heard about. It's hard to keep up. But I'm going to just kind of go through just a few of the main ones that I get a lot of questions about. But the main thing about these diets, why they typically don't work, they may promote weight loss for a short amount of time, but they typically will exclude at least one food group, if not multiple. So you're not getting a lot of nutrients, as like with the watermelon, there's no protein. So she wasn't getting protein for 6 weeks. And they're also very restrictive, typically, like with the watermelon. And so they're not really sustainable. We have to eat healthy forever. So we need to find a way to do that we enjoy. And you've heard Lauren talk about what is nutritious. Just because something is good for you doesn't mean you have to eat that. Oatmeal is very good for you, but I don't like it. I am not going to eat it. I will find healthier other options that are just as healthy. So we encourage you to find food that you actually like to eat, because then you're going to be able to follow more of a healthy eating pattern for the rest of your life. I'm going to start off with the keto diet. I'm sure everybody's heard of this one and maybe even tried it. I've actually tried a few of these just to see what it's like. I didn't last like more than a few hours though, because I like to eat. So the keto diet, it restricts carbohydrates. And when you don't eat carbohydrates, you lack glucose in your body. You have to have glucose in your body or sugar to live. So your body's going to make it, and it's going to break down your fat mass, which sounds great in theory. And it will break down some of your muscle mass as well. When you have a lot of fat mass that's broken down, you produce a byproduct called ketones. And ketones are, which is the name of the diet, can be quite dangerous for your body. The carb amount, they limit it to very, very small amount of carbohydrate per day. So you're left with eating meat and eggs and cheese, and then some vegetables. You can't have any snacks, bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, corn, beans, cereals, snacks, all that good stuff. And most people can't do this for a very long period of time. When we, as human beings, when we deprive ourselves of something, at some point we want it, and we're probably going to go eat too much of it. Some common side effects of the keto diet are fatigue, headaches, nausea. There have been people in the hospital that just really didn't tolerate this diet very well. So it does produce some weight loss, but when you get off of this keto diet, because you're sick of eating the same thing, people tend to gain the weight back. They don't get the nutrients that they need, and most people that I see that do keto tend to not try to eat healthier foods. They tend to want to eat pork rinds and bacon and things like that really just don't have many nutrients in them. They don't typically go for a lot of fresh produce and the leaner meats and the good fish. So this diet can promote weight loss, but it's not really sustainable. I haven't known anybody that's been on it more than 6 months and tolerated it. So probably not the best choice. There's another one out called intermittent fasting. Have y'all heard of this one? Yes. And I've tried this one. I could not do it. I have to eat at my times of day. So intermittent fasting, there's different ways you can do it. You can eat for 5 days and then not eat, just drink water for 2 days. You can eat for 6 hours or 8 hours in a day, and then you can't eat or drink anything else except water for the rest of the time. This can be very difficult for people because, you know, if you're especially on the 6 hour, if you're only eating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and you want to go out to eat with friends that night, then you're going to want to eat. You're not going to want to sit there and drink water. People do get very hungry on it. I just don't see people following it very well. And then when they do eat within that time frame, they almost binge eat and just eat way too much and eat a lot of the bad things for them. So it is not really the best option either, and not sustainable. So in a nutshell, these diets typically may work initially for weight loss, but are not sustainable. Most people just don't last on them. The diets that you've probably heard about that are actually good for you and research-based, heavily research-based, are the Mediterranean diet. I'm sure you've heard of that. There's a lot of news about the Mediterranean diet. And then there's the DASH diet and the MIND diet. So the Mediterranean diet started off with the people that live on the Mediterranean and the foods that they eat, which is they limit processed foods. And when we say processed, it's anything in a bag, a package, a box, like macaroni and cheese, Kraft macaroni and cheese, Doritos, things like that. And they just really don't contain a lot of nutrients, and they're not going to fill us up. So we want to limit those foods. A good example is eating popcorn as opposed to Doritos. The popcorn is more natural. It has a lot of fiber in it. The Doritos is just a lot of chemicals in a bag. Eating an orange rather than having orange juice, because orange juice is just typically like sugar water. So we want to limit those processed foods. You don't have to give them up completely, but just trying not to eat macaroni and cheese every day. And then eating more real food as you can. So real produce, whether it is frozen or canned, or fresh. Eating more carbohydrates, or starches that are more natural, like potatoes and corn and beans and things like that. And then your leaner meats, you want to limit on this diet and on a lot of these, really limiting beef and pork. A lot of your what we call processed or preserved meat, like hot dogs, sausage, bacon, lunch meat, that kind of thing. So limiting that and eating more like a chicken breast or a piece of fish. And then allowing yourself a little bit of pork and beef every once in a while. So that's the basis of that diet. It encourages you to eat a lot of the cold water fishes like salmon and tuna out of a can is okay. Just get it in water, not in the oil. Because the cold water fishes have a lot of the omega-3 fatty acids that can really help decrease inflammation. And you probably have heard a lot about that. So that is the Mediterranean diet. So it's basically just eating more real food, limiting processed foods and meats, and trying to add more of these cold water fishes, if you like it, in your diet. The DASH diet is very, very similar, and this diet has been around forever, at least 30 or 40 years when I became a dietitian. And it basically is like the Mediterranean diet, but it really, really, really restricts sodium. And it was created for people with hypertension or high blood pressure. And it still is a good diet to follow if you really, really need to cut that sodium down. The MIND diet, which this was kind of new to me. I don't know, it's new to Lauren too. And I've seen it in the news a lot, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think we're going to hear more about it. It combines the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. And what it does, or the thought process, it decreases inflammation and oxidative stress in your body, and those kinds of things can damage your tissues. The MIND diet was created to improve brain health and prevent cognitive decline. So there's been a lot of research on this that is shown to be quite positive on helping your brain, your mind. So it encompasses the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet. The MIND diet encourages 10 different foods. It's your green leafy veggies, all of your other non-starchy vegetables, peppers and onions and mushrooms and broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, all that kind of stuff. A lot of berries. Berries have a lot of antioxidants and fiber. Nuts and seeds. This is a really good source of protein. And the nuts and seeds typically have good fats in them, fats that are good for our heart and circulatory system. And some of them have these omega-3 fatty acids that are thought to help with this inflammation in the body. Olive oil is a big one. It's encouraged for all of these diets. It's a really good monounsaturated fat. And that's good for our heart, cholesterol levels, all that good stuff. And whole grains. Whole grains, everybody can, the first thing people say when they sit down, especially people with diabetes, they say, well, I gave up bread. Well, bread's not bad. Bread became the culprit some time ago. I don't know why. But when you eat bread, you should definitely try to eat whole grain bread. And it should say it on the package, whole grain bread. And limit your biscuits and cornbread. Okay, just limit that. It also includes some brown rice, whole wheat pastas, oatmeals, and even things like quinoa, if you branch out and eat that kind of thing. Eating the cold water fatty fishes at least 3 times a week. We don't live in an area that this is plentiful. We typically get salmon and tuna here, but it includes herring and sardines and all of these other fish. If you can't eat fish, don't like fish, you can get omega-3 fatty acids through walnuts, flax seeds, things like that. So you can get these things in from another source. Beans and peas are considered a starch, but they have a lot of fiber and a lot of protein. So they're kind of a little superfood, and they're inexpensive, which is helpful. And then your poultry, so lean cuts of chicken. They discourage five different foods. They discourage butter and margarine. I love the butter. They discourage cheese, red meat, fried food, and then pastries and sweets. So a lot of that is going to be some of your processed foods. So those are the more healthier diets that are out now. And I know there are more fad diets out there, lots of them, like the watermelon diet. But y'all can ask me questions about that if you need to. I wanted to talk about the weight loss medications that I'm sure you all have heard of and seen the commercials and heard about this in the media. They're called GLP-1 agonists. And they promote weight loss. These are the injections like Ozempic. You've heard of Ozempic probably. All of the movie stars are using it to lose weight. And they actually had a shortage of it, so a lot of our patients with diabetes could not get it. It started out, these medicines have been out for years, but they were intended for people with diabetes to help lower their blood sugar around mealtime. And then they started finding out that people were losing weight. And the way that they work, we have hormones in our gut. And when we eat, these hormones are released and they tell our brain that we're full. So we feel fuller longer and earlier. So that's kind of how they work. I mean, it's fairly natural. You're not taking like the old pills that made you jittery and shaky and that kind of thing. Most of these are weekly injections. New ones are coming out all the time. The older ones didn't really promote a lot of weight loss. The newer ones really do help with weight loss. Side effects include nausea. Some people are just queasy all the time because food is sitting in your stomach longer. You know, you're just kind of feeling fuller longer and it can make you a little bit queasy, or you can have some reflux from the food staying in your stomach longer. And a lot of people are not eating the right thing when they take these. So they're not eating the healthy way. They're just eating, you know, a lot of the fat and the junk food and that kind of thing, which can exacerbate all of these symptoms. They're very, 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 very expensive. I'm talking $800 and up for these medications. If you have diabetes and pretty good insurance, you can probably get coverage for this, at least with a copay. And for a while, people were able to get these medications just for weight loss without diabetes, but the companies kind of shut that down because it wasn't indicated for that. So even if you have good insurance and your doctor orders one of these for you just for weight loss, it may still be very expensive because insurance has not really caught up to this yet. So just so you kind of have an idea of what these things do, because it's all over the media right now. There are a lot of supplements out there for weight loss. I cannot possibly know all of them. But typically, if you're taking a pill for weight loss, there's going to be some side effects, something's going on with it. And I'm talking about going to like the health food stores and buying all kinds of things that say fat burner and that type of thing. First of all, they're expensive. They may interact with other medications, so you should always ask your pharmacist if you're taking one of these things. They're not regulated by the FDA. So I could put grass in a capsule and say it's something and sell it, and legally. So, you know, it's kind of scary what's out there. So I would be very, very careful about the supplements. I had a patient in class say the other day that he was trying GOLO, GOLO, and I had to look it up. But it is some pills that you take that supposedly cure your diabetes and lower your blood sugar. He had not had luck with this at that point in time. It was not working for him, surprise, surprise. But this is one I had not heard of. There are weight loss clinics I know around town here, and they really focus more on a medication, which I've never been told what that medication is, and you get B12 shots. And then you're supposed to diet and exercise. With most of these supplements, you're supposed to eat healthy and exercise. Well, you're supposed to do that anyway, so why are you spending money on these other things? A lot of it is just money making. They're making millions and millions of dollars off of this. There's rarely any research behind it. If you do see some sort of supplement weight loss fat burner thing saying, you know, these scientists say blah, 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 well, they were probably hired by the company to do this. So it's not really good, trustworthy research. So just be aware of that kind of thing. You're going to be better off just really trying to slowly change habits and try to find a way to eat healthy most of the time, forever. There are some dieting apps out there. And one that I've seen a lot of commercials about, I mean, there's 1,000 apps out there for tracking food, looking at carbs, that kind of thing. I really encourage you to look and research the app and don't spend the money right up front, because a lot of times they're not going to really do what you want them to do. Also, some of these apps can, especially if you have a calorie level in there, that calculates your calorie level, and it may not really be your calorie level because we're all different. Even if you weigh the same and you're the same height and the same age, you may need more calories than somebody else. It also kind of promotes an obsession. People that start, you know, writing down all of their calories every single day can really become obsessed with this, and it can promote eating disorders, and we see that quite a bit. So I'm kind of leery with some of these apps. Some are very helpful. There's some mindful eating apps out there that are great, that just remind us to slow down and taste our food and chew it slowly and enjoy it. So those kinds of things are actually quite good. There's one put out by the VA called Mindful Coach. I just learned about it. But there's something out there called NutriSense. And it's a little, the one I've seen is a little black device that you wear. The app is $399 for the first month. And what this does is similar to what we have our people with diabetes wear, or hopefully they can get one to wear. It's a continuous glucose monitor. So instead of, pricking your finger and checking blood sugar a couple of times a day, you can get a continuous reading 24/7. Well, this claims that for people without diabetes, that your blood sugar affects every single thing in your whole life. And so this is going to help you lose weight and sleep better and that kind of thing. The first month they say is $399, and then you can get it down to $225 a month for monitoring. And you do have access, they say, to like an online dietitian. So you might get some nutritional advice, but I don't know why reading your blood sugar and spending that kind of money would help you lose weight. If you don't have diabetes, you don't have blood sugar issues for the most part. So be aware. I also just heard about, and you may have seen this, about TikTok. I have TikTok, but I'm not on it. I don't even know if I know how to use it. But TikTok is doing a lot of damage out there, promoting inaccuracies with eating and dieting, promoting eating disorders, restrictive, I eat oatmeal for breakfast, banana for lunch, and grapes for supper, and I lost 20 pounds and I'm great. And then people try it, and then this is where it kind of spirals out of control. So social media can be helpful, but sometimes not. So bottom line, just kind of be aware of what's out there. If it costs a lot of money, it's probably not gonna work, unfortunately. But we're here. There are 3 dietitians in this building, and we see patients of all ages. We take every insurance or uninsured. So we'd be glad to help answer any kind of questions you might have. So what questions do you all have for us? I'll put us both here.
So I have 2. One is kind of like on the TikTok fad diet. Have you seen the carnivore diet or whatever that one is? Where it's just like eating nothing but raw meat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Does that
Have
sound good?
Have y'all met anybody in real life who's doing that one?
I had a patient with diabetes who told me he was doing it, but then when I got his food log, he was also eating Snickers bars at night. So that is something interesting, that a lot of times, if it's that extreme, people aren't actually doing it. And we actually see that a lot with intermittent fasting and keto. People just they don't understand the importance of doing it a specific way to actually, get nutrients that you need. But he's the only one that I've ever met that claims that they were doing it. But that is definitely a very harmful diet
for many reasons. Just
Yeah.
the food poisoning issue behind it. And
Right.
well, I mean, I just can't imagine it tastes good. So no, we're not behind that one.
So one that I was curious if y'all have heard of or endorse, intuitive eating. That's one that I've just started hearing about. Where do you think it stands on like the general like efficacy / effectiveness of like a diet / that whole thing?
Yes. So intuitive eating is not a diet. There was 2 dietitians in 1997. They were eating disorder dietitians, and they saw that so many of their patients got eating disorders because they had been involved in dieting and fad diets and things like that. And so they kind of developed 10 not necessarily steps, but I forget what they call it, 10 I guess ideas of intuitive eating. And basically its biggest thing is it's trying to get people away from dieting. And so nutrition, gentle nutrition is one of the pillars of it. And so it does take nutrition into account, but it's not giving a specific dietary diet to give people. It's more focused on kind of holistically healing your relationship with food, kind of going back to what I was talking about in the beginning with having a positive relationship with food and positive outlook on food. So I definitely support intuitive eating. With certain clientele, you definitely you have to not have an active eating disorder. You know, you kind of have to get to a certain level to be able to do it. And then, you know, some people need a little bit more of the nutritional part of things. So I focus a little bit less on the intuitive eating part of things. But I definitely support, I don't necessarily just hand out their stuff all of the time, but I definitely use their pillars in infiltrating with my counseling.
Okay. Patricia, Vendetta, do either of y'all have any questions?
Yeah, I just, if you wouldn't mind, just walk through how to access your services. You talked about a referral, but if you could let folks know so they'll know how to gain your expertise.
Yeah. Do you want
Yes, we do. To be seen here, we're part of the hospital. We do have to have a referral from a physician, and for Medicare patients, it has to be primary care physician. But I think for any other insurance or uninsured Medicaid, I think it can be any kind of physician. And so the physician would send it to us, fax it to us. We have a specific form, so we'll be glad to send it to a physician if we need to. They complete our form, and then we call you and make an appointment with one of us. We're here Monday through Friday, so you know, whatever time would work. Typically the first visit is an hour, and then follow-up visits can be 30 minutes to an hour, whatever anyone needs. So, and like I said, we take all insurance. If you don't have insurance, you don't have to pay. We have a little scholarship program that we save for that kind of thing. So don't let that inhibit you from giving us a call and wanting to come see us.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool that y'all do that.
Yeah, we just want to help people. I mean, you know, and so if you don't have insurance, it's very, very hard to get services. So we have a golf tournament every year in October. If anybody wants to play golf this year, and we raise money for this program. We also can provide education for people with diabetes. We give them diabetes testing supplies, like a meter and strips and that kind of thing. And they can come as many times as they want.
Okay, cool. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, I just want to go ahead and say thank you both again for helping us with this workshop. It's been very informative, and just thank you again.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We don't mind at all. And you can email us or email Lauren. You have her email. If you've got questions or somebody needs information, we don't mind helping.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do. Well, again, thank y'all, and I hope that everybody has a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.